you start getting older and mature a little bit more, you start realizing what you gotta do in life in general to improve.
It's game theory. You start learning game theory.
Yeah, it's like a game theory.
It's game theory. That's chess. It's playing chess with a human being.
Welcome to the Ethan and Mike Sports Show.
Welcome everybody to another special brand new episode for you guys. So episode 32. It's been a long journey ahead of us. But we got a special guest today, guys. You guys are gonna love this guy right here. He's a former elite gymnast representing Team Canada, trampolinist, and a co-founder of Freestyling Trampoline Association. Give it up for Greg Roe, everybody. Greg Roe, how you doing?
Hey man, how you doing? Great to be here.
It's great. First off, as always, I want to thank you for coming on my show. I really appreciate it that much. You were the first one that actually came out to me that was like up there. Usually I would have to interact with people up there, but you were the first one. What made you come on the podcast with us today?
Well, to be honest, we're launching our podcast. We're learning about the community. We're learning about all the different kind of things it takes to sort of launch something of this sort of magnitude. We do a lot of social media and a lot of video-based stuff, but not so much educational, podcasty, sort of interviewee style.
Yeah.
So we're actually new. So for me, it's, no matter where I am on the totem pole, we'll call it, it's always worth starting wherever you can to get the information. So when we looked you guys up, we saw that, you definitely had some followers, you had some good conversations going, you had definitely a good sort of vibe. And, we thought that was great. So we wanted to kind of chit chat with you and figure out, how do we spread this message? Because it's a learning process for me as much as it is for anyone else.
Yeah, I agree 100%. Like podcasting is just a process in general. You never know what works, what good. We just bring out good content for everybody to listen up to. That's what I always love about this podcast. And I know that's where you're trying to grab attention to this too, Greg.
Yep, I love it, man. It's great. I love what you guys are doing.
But thank you so much. I really appreciate it 100%, as always. And before I really begin the show, shout outs to Duco Clothing Company, 10% off if you use my code Ethan. We are representing them, so shout outs to Duco Clothing Company. So now, let me ask you this question, Greg, as I just said in my sponsor. So tell us about what came up with acrobatics in your life, in general, in your early stages of life, and how you overcame the doubters.
Well, so when I was a kid, I was always that guy that just, let's just say, did whatever the hell I wanted. I got kicked out of my very first gym club at the age of 6 because I wouldn't stand in line for vault. Vault for your guys there, that's the one you run and you try to jump over that thing and you do like some flips and try to stick it, right? And for me, it's okay, you have a class of 8 to 10 kids. I'm like, go. I just want to play and do whatever the heck I want to do, right? And then, oh no, you have to stand in line and wait. I'm like, right. So that's the kind of kid I was, right? And I haven't changed at all. People say, oh, I've changed. No, they haven't. There's still that seed in the back. I'm always that go kind of guy, right? And so as I progressed through the levels, though, because once I got kicked out, I found a new gym. Guy, shout out to Sean Campbell. He's the one that took me under his wing. He was a regular coach, nothing fancy, but a guy that understood what I was looking for. So he ended up putting me into a group that was all the older kids, and they basically beat me down for 4 or 5 years.
Wow.
And they just whooped my butt. And it was great because, back then, this was late 1990s, early 2000s. And it was still where it wasn't everyone's being cuddled and
like how it is nowadays. Yeah.
Exactly. It wasn't like that. We got hit by our coaches and they smacked us and they didn't give a crap about it. And if you did, that's your problem. Don't be a punk, basically.
Yeah,
right?
it's like,
so,
but not just leave.
Yeah, exactly. Because you don't have to be here, right? And that's what, people say, oh, you should never abuse someone. Like, well, you don't have to be there. They have the philosophy, but the world has changed. And I don't think that's for the worse. I don't think you have to hit kids to make them do stuff. But the reality is that's what I grew up in, right? So, but it worked for me. So when I was in this group that just kind of whooped my butt a little bit, it taught me reality that my parents were going to teach me. My school, hell, wasn't going to teach me. My employers weren't going to teach me. No one was going to teach me at this time, right? And what I mean by employers is that, you work for the gym. So that's kind of how you get your first job. You become a coach and stuff. So my employers were already scouting me when I was 8, 9, 10 years old, right? So when you kind of realize and all of a sudden the world crashes down on you a little bit earlier, then all of a sudden you kind of learn what it's like. So it was perfect. It was the best thing that happened to me. I know other people say, oh, it's terrible to be, aggressive towards anybody at any point, because, it's all bad for that. But it was the best thing that ever happened to me. If I didn't have people be aggressive towards me and force me to go into the line, wouldn't have done it. And I would have just, God knows where I would have gone. So then what happens, the gymnastics became sort of my structure. And I started training more and more and more, go through the levels, blah, 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 blah. You get to Team Canada and all that. So I was a gymnast first when I was up to 17. I was like, I don't know what I want to do. I'm kind of trying to figure out what my college situation is, blah, blah, blah. All these kind of different factors are coming into play. And I decided to basically leave gymnastics and go just to trampoline. And for me, it was the big thing was that I could just fly. I didn't have to do all this strength and conditioning. For a 4-hour training in a gymnastics club, 75% of it is strength and conditioning, right? Even when you're on the actual event, doing high bar, doing release moves and stuff, you're doing all the warm-ups, you're doing the technical, you throw it a few times, but then you go back to a warm-up. So you go back to technical, right? So the fun part's very minimal when you actually really stop and think about it. But from there, you develop. So I went to trampoline and said, okay, well, I'm going to sort of go off on this path, fly around the air, a little bit more freedom, And then from there, I was on Team Canada a couple of years just because, honestly, it wasn't because I was special. It was just because I had more strength. When you're a gymnast, it's like being the king of decathlon. Say whatever you want about gymnasts. They're a little bit arrogant, I think, and they have some problems with their culture, as you'll see with Athlete A. But they're very good athletes. They're just very robotic athletes, So, and this, once you kind of realize that they know what they know, but nothing else. Like you change one thing in their routine, they're thrown off. That's crazy. You would think Olympic athletes, they're free to do anything. No, they're very linear. They're absolutely linear, And so what we saw this as I started kind of growing up and going through the industry and realized, well, that doesn't make any sense, because if you're going to be that good or Olympic caliber athlete, well, then you should be doing more. You should be doing better. And that kind of
push yourself. You got to push yourself to the limit.
Now I see that caused some friction because I'm not going to speculate why that caused friction. I still don't know to this day. But when I said that publicly, and I had a good following at the time because I was one of the go-getters that was capitalizing on social media at the start, way more than anyone else. And probably still to this day more than any other athlete or most other athletes at least. And from there you realize, well, these guys are doing their thing. I wanted to make my own thing. And from there we basically created Freestyle Trampoline. And that was derived from basically saying, what you guys you're 2-dimensional. I want to go 3-dimensional. Movement is a 3-dimensional deal. You live in a 4-dimensional time-space continuum kind of thing. So why are you living in 2D when you can go to 3D? And they're still learning what that really means, and honestly, I'm still learning what that means, but we have a 3-dimensional model of education that we're basically promoting through freestyle. And we have a whole competition series that basically backs that up, and kids compete, have fun, win prizes, make friends, and learn along the way.
Yeah, it's just like a learning experience. What I know is, like, especially G-Tramp, because I know a lot of people want to know about G-Tramp. Well, the difference between G-Tramp and then the normal Olympic way of how they do in trampoline, which the Olympics would have been this year, but it's going to be next year in 2021 due to the coronavirus that we're dealing with right now. But if you want to explain to the viewers, what is G-Tramp? What is G-Tramp, period?
G-Tramp is short for garden trampoline. Normally it's actually called backyard trampolines. but these guys call it garden trampolines. I think it sounds nicer, so
Yeah.
good for them. Kind of modifying that. That's good branding when you think about it. And basically, what it is a bunch. Back in 2007, there's a bunch of snowboarders that basically had a garden trampoline, and they bounced on it during the summertime, and they basically just trained and did their ski, snowboard stuff there, just kind of cross training. And this is normal. Like we work with Snowboard Germany and Ski Canada and all these different other more freestyle sports. They all use trampoline to train in the summer, right? That's just normal.
Yeah.
And so these guys are doing that back in 2007. And they basically started making some videos. And this is when YouTube, I think, started in 2006, if I'm not mistaken. You know, all these other accounts started coming. Instagram was 2009, 10, whatever it was, you know, and they started sharing all these videos, and they started blowing up because they were the first ones to market. That's business, first one to market, you know. And all of a sudden people were like, oh, this is great, and blah, blah, blah. And they started forming these little chat groups. And they were like, I don't know how old your audience is, but if they know MSN Messenger,
I think,
you know,
yeah, some of my audience are at your age too. Don't worry. They all will know this for sure. I
Well,
know a
yeah.
little bit of it, but not too much, you know?
Well, it was before Facebook and all that sort of stuff, where you sign up an email, you collect people's emails. You know, as guys, what we would do is go to like Wonderland stuff, and we were gymnasts, right? So we would take our shirts off, and we would walk around and collect girls' emails and stuff like that. And MSN, it was a big game of contest, and we had the loser who gets the least amount of emails from girls has to do like 20 push-ups in the middle of the park and little fun stuff like
That's
that.
a good competition,
but that's what
right there.
Well, yeah, but hey, it was good because what it did is, this was actually at the time I was learning how to coach, so I was becoming authoritative in my coaching. I was learning how to basically be a man in the, let's say, puberty world, all that sort of stuff, you know, and this kind of snowballed together to create a lot more, let's say, structured version of me, you know. So it all kind of came together. It wasn't anything questioning, you know. It was just development. It was just your human development. So fundamentally, from there, what you do is you develop a schema for life, and then you develop that, and that's what we're doing with these kids, you know. And that's so what G-Tramp is us basically taking these kids from everywhere. So we operate in about 30 different countries a year, and we host about 50 to 60 events a year, roughly. It changes depending on how you define it. Yeah. And we basically work with about 2,000 to 10,000 athletes yearly. About sometimes it's just education, sometimes it's competition, sometimes it's brand sponsorship, sometimes it's safety, sometimes we're talking to the parents, you know. So we interact with the whole community, and we create the Freestyle Trampoline Association as kind of the encompassing parent company of this community that kind of caters to like roughly 100,000 kids around the world that all kind of are G-trampers or flippers or freestyle trampolinists, all kind of rolled into one. And we kind of head that up, and we manage it, and we consult with them. They give us information about what they want. We create events for them every year, and they qualify and win prize money and win sponsorships and travel money and all these other sort of things. And it's really a grassroots sort of program, but it's from kids that literally started in the backyard and turned them into athletes and got them successful sponsorships. It's been a very interesting sort of road.
Yeah, that's what I really like about you, Greg, that you give it back to the community right there, to every country. Because I know you've been to every culture to better understand how to teach the kids while you're coaching them to do the freestyle trampoline. Is what I noticed when I was reading your articles, man. It was like, because you get to pick every single people out to give a comparison to each other or what their background, like if they're from Asia, Africa, here in the US, or anywhere. You just give their insight because you've been through that when you were little. You know how it feels, how that goes.
Yeah, you got to give back. Like, you know, we've done very well, and we've been able to really, let's say, get the community popping, you know, on social media. Like New York Times calls us the sport that was grown on Instagram, and we got TV producers literally biting at the bit, trying to say, how do we show this community and how do we profit from it? This is what this is. It's business. You know, and a lot of people don't understand that. You know, when I was on Team Canada, I didn't know it was a business. I thought I was representing my country because I was the good patriot. Not really. You're the dancing monkey. And then when they're done with you, they throw you away and call it just a cost of doing business. And that's fine because every business does that.
Sure.
But once you realize that you're just that cog in the wheel, then you're looking for more. And that's what I did. And so are these kids. So that's why we resonate with these kids really well. And they resonate with us equally because we understand what they're looking for. You know,
You're looking for the next step up.
Yeah, they're looking to climb the ladder. Like, who isn't? I don't know anyone that says, hey, man, I really love life. I just want to climb down to the bottom.
No, they always want to stand up. It's like being an employee, then promoting to assistant manager, then to a general manager, then a corporate, like kind of like that.
Exactly. They're just taking a step up, and they're doing it through social media, which a lot of traditional people not traditional people, like, you know, the older populations, you know, they don't understand that it's actually the same thing that they're doing. So they kind of look down on it as if somehow, well, you're just playing like esports, huge bubbling market right now, right? Well, no, you can't make a living off video games. Yeah, you can.
Yeah, you can.
These kids are making millions of dollars off that. So to just have this mentality in your mind that only certain things can make money is just limiting yourself. What you got to look at is, where can I invent the money? Money is printed in the real world. It really is. And if you look at modern money theory and any economics, I don't know how many of your guys like economics, but you look at that when you look at a country and we bailed out ING or some big bank or whatever in 2008, and everyone goes, oh, you're printing money. That's our money. No, it's not. They're creating debt. They're creating that actually goes back to the people. So they're actually printing money for the people. They just don't realize it because they don't know anything about economics, but that actually helping. And that's what you have to do with when you're building anything. You got to print the money. You got to create the value. So for us, when we go to people, we go to Red Bull, let's say, oh, Red Bull, you're going to title sponsor this, blah, blah, blah. And they say, yeah, why? And I say, well, because there's value in it for you. Yeah. And they go, what value? And I go, well, I can get this many views, or I can get this, or I can do this, or whatever I outline. It doesn't matter. Unless that's the answer, that they say that they're going to get more out of working with you than doing it themselves.
Yeah.
They're not going to.
Yeah, because you always have to bring something to the table if you want to collaborate with another partnership, It's like, what can you do for me that will help me out and help you out at the same time? Both beneficial.
The best way to look at it from a business perspective is like, you have two entities. They both have their unique resources. They have something that you don't have, or you wouldn't even be talking to them. Right. So, and it's not just financials. It's not like, oh, one company has more money than the other. It's not that. It's, well, one company has a direct line to Ellen DeGeneres and I want to get on her show because of this. And another company knows the camera guy that would produce the stuff for Fox that would then piggyback off that for, it's not money. It's value. And that's where a lot of people don't understand. It's value. You have to find value. You have to create it. Like, it's not
create the content of it.
Well, yes, the content is one, but people walk around this planet just not understanding that value is something that they have to invent. You have to go and find this shirt, $5 in Bali. You know how much value I've got out of this thing? I've gotten tons of marketing value because I've had people that are on the cover of Vogue magazine say that they get their style from me. Value that.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So that's what I'm talking about for value. It's not just money. Money will come once you exit, right? Because it's better for you to just keep investing in it and buying some shirts like this where people say the right things about your brand or your sport or whatever it is that you're doing, not just, oh, are you going to give me a better discount? Financial variances is just one factor, usually a small factor. When a company wants to send you money because they like you, that won't be a factor. If that's a factor, you're dealing with somebody that doesn't like you and they just want to see what they can get from you because they don't really value you.
Yeah, I agree with that 100% there. What you said there, I really agree there. It just brings more information to me, I just felt like I learned something right there, Greg. But
it is what I've learned. It's just, I made the same mistakes. I didn't know any of this before I started. I just thought everyone liked me and that whatever they said was true. And then I realized, oh no, most of them are lying about it, and not for bad reasons. Not that they're like bad people.
No, it's business. It's just to get something out of them, and then you get screwed in the end, which I understand that.
Yeah, but you get out of that sort of turmoil when you then start looking at, well, what you have, I have to invent new value where both of us can kind of become 50-50 partners. and this whole new thing that doesn't take away equity or territory realistically from one person. Because most people go into a business deal and they say, oh, I need this thing, you need to buy it. Well, okay, I'm grabbing a piece of territory or a share from you or whatever. Instead of saying, hey, you got these resources, don't give me nothing. I got this resource over here. I'm not going to give you nothing because I don't want to spend the cost. But if we combine these together in a freemium way, we can actually generate revenue in this whole new stream that we both of us couldn't do alone, because you didn't have the context for this and I didn't have the context for that. And that's how you make new money. People want to make new money. They don't want to steal your money, because I don't think people are like that. People generally don't like to feel that they're taking from you unwillingly, but they don't want to give you money either. So what you do is you basically say, we're taking both parties out of the equation. We're inventing new money together with just our labor and resources. People are a lot more likely to say yes to that kind of arrangement.
That's actually a good point there, because it's like, don't take both of them together. You just come up with a new create content right there, using both of your resources right there and coming over. It's kind of like TikTok, really. If you think about it, if you ever seen like on TikTok where you see people will combine something to make it trending. Like, for example, like 7-Eleven, for example, you've probably seen that recently. 7-Eleven did like the little slushy thing, and they'd make some music and get some creators are out there to blow it up, It's something like that. Something out of the ordinary. It's just like what you just said there.
Well, yeah, think of it like when rappers get together, right? They have now before it was all kind of your own clique, and then all of a sudden they started mixing and matching together, and all started doing features on each other's stuff. No different. They said that we can hit a wider audience if we just combine together, rather than you take from me and I take from you. I'm not taking your market from you, Mr. Rapper A. And Mr. Rapper B doesn't have to take it from him. They basically go and create something new that actually filters through market C that none of them could have done individually. That's how you do. You're always looking for market C. Yeah,
it's collaborating together. And making a new market right there. And it's like, and it mind blows people, because like, wow, this is a good song to listen to if I'm like working out or I'm working on the podcast, things like that.
They never thought.
Which I agree.
They never thought it would happen, right? They look at a song and they go, oh, I never thought that, Lil Wayne doing some skateboarding stuff was going to be cool, but all of a sudden I did like it. And all of a sudden he's got some new followers. And that's what the aim is to combine different communities in different ways, doing different things to try to see which one clicks through. That's it.
You just never know what clicks,
It's experimental. You got to trial and error.
Trial and error. That's how one way from the bottom to moving up the ladder, It's always trial and error. I always say that to everybody. It's always trial and error. You always have up and downs in life.
Yep. You don't have an option because, well, let's put it this way. If you had the option, then everyone would be a billionaire, right?
Oh, yeah. Everyone would be up there at the top. No one will be poor. There will be no one.
Yeah, but then if everyone's at the top, though, then all of a sudden you have the same distribution again, but just with higher prices. So True. Maybe. Who knows?
It's just how any scenario. If everyone's in the bottom, then everyone would have felt the same, But that's why
it's all relative, man. And that's why I like business. Business to me isn't just making money. Like, of course, everyone likes to make money. Like, I heard one guy say something funny. He's like, well, money doesn't solve all the world's problems, but I know that when I have my problems, I'd rather do an Alexis, something like that, right? And
I always hear it. Some of my friends, like, I'm gonna spend my paycheck on this new BMW or Lexus, and then you still have to pay for your taxes. And it's like,
plus it's depreciating, so you're losing money as soon as you buy it. Don't buy any of that stuff. Buy if you're a young guy, first buy a long-term savings account and put 10 grand into it, and you'll get $1.5 million by the time you're 60. There's your nest egg done. It's really easy, and you put in a couple grand every year. It's really not complicated. Right. But what you then need is a medium-term investment that gets you hungrier. Because if you're sitting around waiting for retirement, that's a stupid life. You don't want that. Right. So, but you have that because you're going to have medical bills. You're going to have issues. Yeah. Sorry. Life gets crappier.
That's life. That's life in general.
It is what it is, so you have a long-term investment. You have some medium investments that are let's say a little bit higher yield, but lower risk. Again, this is basic mathematics. And then you got really low stuff that, but you can turn over every day and play with it and have fun with it. Because you could invest in stocks, you can invest in that. But ultimately they always say, like any stock person will tell you, or financial advisor will tell you, that basically it's always a long game. You have to be in for a long game. So besides all those little tricks that people will tell you about, invest this, invest that, what you need to do is invest in something that you care about, that you will do for 60 years. You'll make always more money than any trick in the stock or any quick little fluctuation in the market or blah, blah, blah. Invest in something you care about, whether it's in school and you go and become a doctor, and then, you make $100,000 a year for the next, whatever it is. Hopefully you pay back your school fees,
Yeah.
all that sort of stuff, but you'll still make more money. It's an investment. Like education is an investment. You invest in yourself, and you say, okay, well, I'm going to put $100,000 into education. Well, then I better be making, $100,000 or at least $80,000 for every year for the next 30 years after. Well, you add all that up, and well, okay, that there's a good return on that. So there's nothing wrong with getting a good job, but some people also like to do it themselves. So if you're going to do it yourself and be self-employed, then, well, you better know the markets, and you better know the percentages and all that stuff. It gets complicated.
Yeah, you just want to be like ahead of the game more, just be right there, a little bit more. Do you agree there or not?
I don't know, man. It's tough depending on who you ask. Yeah, I always think of stocks as you're predicting the future. But when I talk to my investment buddies, they say they're not predicting the future. And I don't know if that's an insurance policy or if that's, something else. But for me, yeah, you're predicting the future. Like for when we created the whole freestyle thing, we predicted that kids would want to make money doing flips earlier before they went to the Olympics, and hopefully wrote a book about it and still made a little bit of money.
Yeah.
Right? Who the hell wants to put in 15 years and then get nothing out of it? No one.
Yeah, no one.
It wasn't a very hard decision to make. So I'm not really sure why other people haven't figured that one out. But so we assumed that much. So we made our own thing, and we predicted that people would like it because it was different, and we catered to people's needs that the traditional side wasn't catering to. They think they are, but they're not. And the fact that we even have existence, the fact that we even exist is proof of that. And so that's what you got to do. You got to go make your own thing. We couldn't go against them. Back to that whole thing was, you can't take territory from them. We can't try to grab their athletes. We just got to go make our own new type of athletes. That's some hybrid, and that's what you do with business propositions, whether it's in stocks as well, because you can make your portfolio a hybrid. That's the whole point. That's diversification, right? So you get one stock with it's does really good in Corona, like a mask company, right? You invest in that, boom, boom, boom. But then you find another company that invests in the complete opposite thing. So that what happens is that every time they have the bulls, right, and what do you call it, the market,
the stock
bulls
market.
and bears. Yeah, the bulls and the bears. And right when one goes up, the other goes down. So you want to invest in bulls and in bears. And you do that somewhat evenly, and you just kind of chug along. That's it, right? It's not rocket science.
No, it's not rocket science. Once you get the hang of it, we just think that we'll get there as soon as possible. But let's flip. But I want to flip it back.
It's patience, man.
It's just patience. That's what the process is with the podcasting too. When I notice is like you gotta have like patience there, because you're not gonna get everything in a year, like in 1 year, because we're almost about to be a 1 year podcast right here. But you make progress, but it's not like it clicks right there and you're already instantly there. Is what some people don't understand.
No, it's not like that.
Some people think that will be okay. So if I make this, boom, I'm up there. It takes a lot of work. It takes a lot of work. All the times, the editing, the time to talk to people, to communicate, interaction is a very key point too. Like for example, when you go to other countries, experience their different cultures and languages, how they contribute to our daily lives, things like that. For example, it's just an influencer way to telling. It's always a slow process, but you'll get there if you believe in your craft. That's what I feel.
Yeah, I agree 100%. And you have to believe in it. The problem people don't understand is that they don't understand if they believe in something. A lot of people think they believe in something, but they don't really. They say they do because it sounds nice, and maybe people around them are giving them some stimuli of some, well, it would be really cool if you did this and X and Y and Z. But they're like, oh, okay. But they're really misassociating what they actually like with just an approval rating from somebody around them. And a lot of people really mess that one up. It's understandable. Your family's around you, or whoever's around your peer groups around you, you're going to listen to them. That's why they're around you, because you chose to listen to them, right? That's how that works, right? So all of a sudden you realize that you're in a bubble. And sometimes it takes a very aggressive change, usually abruptly, that all of a sudden makes you really think, whoa, what am I doing? Who am I listening to? Right? And that's the thing. And so when you have that moment, that will usually snap you out of you. Go, oh, okay. And you start looking at everyone differently, and you realize, okay, what do you mean by that exactly? And that's the best way I can say is, what do you mean exactly? When you're young, you don't ever ask, what do you mean?
Yeah,
You
you just go with the flow.
Yes or no.
It's like kind of going with the flow. I was like, okay, I guess. But then once you start getting older, you start learning. That guy is using me, she's using this, and then she's with me or he's with me. That type of feel. That's when you start getting older and mature a little bit more, you start realizing what you gotta do in life in general to improve.
It's game theory. You start learning game theory.
Yeah, it's like a game theory.
It's game theory. That's chess. It's playing chess with a human being. You know, as you and I talk right now, we're both playing chess, right? Most people don't realize that, but people know biology and psychology and all that sort of stuff know that 100%. You know, and that's why if you don't like that analogy, the reality for that is that, don't you see a lot of people like vlogging?
Yeah, there's a lot of people vlogging on YouTube. You see that a lot.
Well, they want to see reality. They don't want to be lied to. So that's why people don't like game theory. People hate game theory because they think that means it's automatic lie. It's an automatic deception. But in reality, what it is you actually trying to work hard to get the approval of the other person by doing what you think makes sense based on the body language and the vocal language and the pitches and all this other stuff. You're watching all that and you say, oh, okay, it looks like he wants to do this, so I will do this. And that's what human interaction is at a very biological level, which people they like to walk around and say, well, I am who I am. And that's bull crap. And you wouldn't even say that. And the fact you even say that's a contradiction, because you wouldn't say it unless you want approval for saying it, which means you're an idiot, you know? So, you know, and you catch people doing this all the time. So once you realize that, which is, it's tough when you actually believe it. And you'll understand what I mean. Like when you think something, you read an article, blah, blah, blah. But then when you actually believe it is what it is, it's a whole different ball game. And a lot of people just don't understand that about human nature, which makes them usually unsuccessful because they don't look at the basic primary instincts of human beings or try to connect those kind of dots. So they kind of fall, let's say, into the trap of morality, where what they do is whatever sounds good, it must be good. Nope. You know, you got to look at the reality and ask the hard questions. And that's where a lot of people struggle, you know?
Yeah, I agree. I can agree with that 100%. Like, I know there'd be times like through this process where I have ups and downs, what I notice, which I usually bring myself back up. I usually talk to people around me that helps me out with the podcast, just bringing back up, you know, because sometimes you might not like the results, but it's not about the results. It's about the way you interact with people, the content you make, what brings it out that's interesting than any other content is what I feel, you know, in life.
It's got to be unique. It's got to be different.
It's got to be very different. Yeah, that's what unique, how unique this show is. Pretty much Ethan and Mike's sports show. We talk about anything besides sports also too. It's also a show too as well. So we do sports, we can do interviews, we even do underground music that no one knows about. That's what makes us unique. Because you might know who that is.
Learn about it.
You might hear them in the next future, you know?
Yeah, that's good.
That's what makes us unique.
I like it. It's really good. That's why our team really said, you know, this guy's got something going on. We really like it.
That's what I feel. And I want to ask you this one last question before we end this interview. I want to ask you this one. This is going to be a fun little question for you. So throughout the times when you do the acrobatic flips, right? What was the most favorite one, the most craziest you ever done? I want to know this one.
There's been several of them. But I guess in Sweden, we were at a festival, Bravalla Festival, and Metallica was there. I got to see them backstage, and that was really cool. But they took a crane and they took a what do you call it? A container, like from China.
Yeah, one of those containers from the ship, right?
Exactly. And they just hoisted it up on a crane just by cables. I stood on the top of the container and jumped into an airbag 65 meters, which by 65 times 3.3, whatever the
180.
number is.
I think it's 180
Yeah.
feet.
Yeah, someone that was like 180, 190 feet. I thought. I'm not sure. Don't quote me on the numbers, but
No.
it was six. I know it was 65 meters, whatever that translates to, and that was scary because the thing just kept moving around because it didn't have any holds down on the side to like pin it. There's no one holding it, so it was just literally waving 65 meters up, and I'm crawled on the top of this thing and gonna jump. And that was kind of scary, but that was fun. That was I think that was the world's first, actually. I'm not 100% sure, but then I don't know. Another one we did was 4 flips with a full twist at 55 meters, which is acrobatically much cooler. But the other one was higher, so the average Joe could understand. 65 meters. And yeah, I'd say those were probably the 2. And then on trampoline is just a bunch of quints and big flips and 8 twists and spinny bidders and all that sort of stuff.
Yeah, those are good ones. I remember I saw some videos on YouTube when I saw you go all the way on the top. I was like, man, if I was there, I would not even jump. I wouldn't even do nothing. I'm gonna be honest with you. Like I told my crew, like me and my crew will agree. If I do that, it's like, man, I'll be doing this. All right, I'll jump now. I love you all. That's what I would do.
You gotta start young, man. You gotta start young.
Yeah, that's what I know. Is once you start young, you get used to it.
It becomes a thing. Like people say, "Oh, you don't have to start young." You don't have to start young, but when you're older, you're naturally already predisposed to not doing it because you have more of a lifespan that isn't doing that compared to the one that is. So you're just naturally playing against time. So it naturally takes a little bit longer the older you get to kind of get acclimatized to it. So I when I was young, my neurons were fresh and new and just spouting all over the place. So anyone that wants to get into anything, not acrobatic, like just anything, like
anything,
piano or whatever. Exactly. Just start.
Whatever you're more comfortable with in life, you just stick to it and let it keep growing it. I will say as me perspectively as the host here, I will say that to anybody that's out there listening to this show right now, do what you love to do. Be that guy that will change the game for everybody. That's what I would do.
But you can't go in with the idea that you're going to change the game. You got to go in with the idea that you just have this personal belief in your head of what it could be and make everyone else believe it. So so if you go in with the idea that I'm going to change the game, there's an arrogance there. You know what I mean? There's I changed the game, right? So you got to stay away from that. What you got to do is you got to go in and say, like, for me, like when I first started all this, I just wanted to go to the moon, right? I didn't even want to do any of this stuff. I just wanted to go to the moon, and all this stuff was the pathway to the moon. So I'm going to keep going until I'm at the moon.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So, you know what I mean? And we're already actually working with NASA and all these different organizations to do that because now space travel is becoming a possibility.
It's a possibility. It's like people want to go to Mars too in the next few years from now.
First girl. There's a girl in 2033 or something that's going to go. And they've already picked her now, right? So space travel is happening. So for me, my dream wasn't to make a name in the industry. My dream was to go to the moon, and I have to make a name in my industry and make some good investments and do some good behaviors for the next 40, 30 years to be able to get to the moon, to be able to afford to do whatever that business transaction is going to be. Because I can't guarantee someone's going to pay for me to go to the moon. I can get a sponsor, I can get this, I can get that. But ultimately, you can't guarantee. So you basically fill the bank waiting to spend that money on something that's really important. And it isn't about you doing it. It's about the joy of doing it. Like, it's not about going to the moon and saying, haha, I went to the moon. It's, I went to the moon and I got to be on the moon.
You got to be on the moon. You get to be somewhere not a lot of people will be at.
Yeah, it's not about other people. You know what I mean? It's, I want to go to the moon. I don't even care if anyone knows I go to the moon. I don't even televise it. I don't even need to. I just want to go to the moon.
Yeah.
Right? That's when you find that thing that makes you just want to do it and not have to tell everyone about it, then you're in love. Right? And then that's the thing that you invest in. If the only reason you're investing is because you want to brag about it to everybody else that you did it, then you won't last long. You'll give up because you don't actually care. You're just looking for the applause. And eventually you start off with high applause when you invest and everyone's happy, but then you go down and then it's just flat plateaus until you make $1 billion and everyone calls you a unicorn and then you're all good. But most people don't do that. So you just kind of wither away and you quit. Right.
Yeah.
So pick a business that you want to succeed, even if you were going to keep it completely to yourself. Then it's something that you actually believe in.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, sometimes my wording be a little bit off there, but yeah, just like you said, that's how I really would say to everybody there. Especially like for me, for example, because I'm into a lot of sports. I love sports in general. It's like I want to help everybody out there, That's also why, like I said, this podcast is very unique. Because I always love helping everybody from the down below up, come up with me and everything, That's what makes this podcast very unique, Greg.
Yeah, I love it. I think you're doing a great job, man. I hope you keep going, and I really wish you the best of luck.
I really appreciate it, Greg. I really do. That really hits me. That hits me in the heart, though. That really does hit me in the heart. I love it, man.
You're a lot like me, man. You're just trying to make it. Everyone's just trying to make it. You're like everybody else out there. I'm like you. You're like them. I'm like them. Everyone's like them. So, but it takes a different type of person to actually do it, and that's where you have taken a step above others. Not everyone, of course, there's always someone above you. Don't get ego.
No, I don't get no ego. No, that's good. No. I'm just saying it does really hit me in the heart, though. It really does.
I hope you do well, man. I would like to see you diversify into your own merch lines and into just whatever.
We're gonna get into merchandise. Don't worry, we will in the future. Right now is not a good time for.
I'll send you a Hawaiian shirt if you send me one of yours.
Oh yeah, of course. I will. I'll let you know when we get our merch, and we'll do that. How's that?
Perfect. I'm gonna bug you until you do it, and that's gonna.
Okay, we'll do. Okay, I'll give you that promise on this recording. I'll give you this promise. You can come back to this one. You can always brag about it that you need.
You said it. You said it. You have to do it now. Where's my shirt?
I know. I always trust me. I have this in my mind. Don't worry. It's not like it's gone away. Don't worry.
No, man, it's all good, man. As a coach, I've learned what people need to move forward.
Thank you guys for listening. I'm here to help you. Episode 32. My name is Ethan. You can listen to us on YouTube, all major podcasts. You can follow us on Instagram, TikTok, Twitter, all major podcasts. I'm Ethan. Thank you so much, guys, for listening to this episode. Have a great one. Have a great week.